he's there at this little after party, and I find him in the back room, and people will never understand. I can sit here and tell you, like, what the paraphernalia that's in front of him and what he's doing and how it just, intrigues me. And he'll go to the bathroom, every 10, 15 minutes, like in public, or if we're on the train or going somewhere. And I don't think it was his bladder that took him to the bathroom. That consumption.
Right.
It just seems like, how are you still alive?
Have you at all gotten a call from the president?
Jill and I only want what is best for all of our grandchildren, including Navy.
I have not gotten anything. I don't feel like Hunter ever felt like he got the love he deserved from anyone. And I feel like he was constantly looking for that in everyone. And you're just thinking I'm crazy. I know, I see the look on your face.
So when I was first approached with the idea of interviewing Lunden Roberts and having her on the podcast, I was a little bit skeptical. She is the mother of Hunter Biden's daughter. They had a child together. They had a full-on 1 year plus year relationship. And when the story became public, and then eventually DNA supported that this is actually Hunter Biden's daughter, I didn't know whether this was going to be a good idea or not. I watched a couple of her interviews. She seemed very reserved. I watched her interview with Megyn Kelly. And then eventually I said, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Brought her down, sat down, spoke to her, and she started telling stories. She told a story of one time when they were hanging out together. There's a knock on the door. Door opens. Hunter's actually on drugs, totally messed up, opens the door. At the front of the door is President Joe Biden. And she explained the experience, what it was like when he came back into the room. You have to see what she said about it. She broke down exactly how they met, how long they were together, intimate moments they had together, drugs, what the moment was like on how long they didn't speak. And the first time around, when she showed up surprising him at the deposition with a box that you're gonna have to see what's in the box. There's gonna be a moment where you're gonna feel the pain of a mother wanting the daughter, asking a question, when am I gonna meet my father? And she's explaining a video where Hunter is reading a eulogy, and you're gonna see this moment where, the daughter is watching this video, and I'm not even gonna spoil it for you. You have to watch it. This is not gonna be what you expect this interview to be. This is not her trashing Hunter Biden, throwing the entire family under the bus. That is not what she did. She did not hold anything back. But your impression of why she thinks he is going through what he went through will be different. And there was a picture that was brought up when she said, I always wondered about this picture that's been public about the day President Biden was sworn in. With the timing of it seems a little bit odd for me. Why would anybody do it at the time that he did it? You're going to have to watch it for yourself. And I hope this somehow, some way causes President Biden to invite his 7th grandchild to the White House or Delaware to actually meet, because she does not deserve to live a life without ever meeting her grandfather. Whatever the son did, whatever the addictions he has, in this situation, Lunden didn't do anything wrong, and President Biden's granddaughter, Navy, didn't do anything wrong. But we'll see what happened with it. If you haven't ordered a book, click on a link below to support it. However, having said that, enjoy this sit down with Lunden Roberts.
30 seconds. Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
All right, so we have an interesting guest. I think that's qualified, right, to say an interesting guest with an interesting story. She just released a book. Let me pull up this book here. Rob, can you go back up to it? So Out of the Shadows, okay, this is coming out in 2 months. My Life Inside the Wild World of Hunter Biden, okay? And that's Lunden Roberts. Lunden, it's great to have you on a podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's great to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you. So, obviously, we've read about you. We follow the story. We've kind of gone through, hey, are you going to claim, are the DNA results going to come back? Or is this real? Is this just a speculation? And then eventually DNA results come out. No, this is Hunter Biden's child, Navy. And then it even got to a point that I believe that the president had to respond to it last year, July 28. President Joe Biden made a statement acknowledging Navy, your daughter, his granddaughter, Hunter's daughter. Biden told people, our son Hunter and Navy's mother, Lunden, are working together to foster a relationship that is the best interest of their daughter, preserving her privacy as much as possible going forward. This is not a political issue. It's a family matter. Jill and I only want what is best for our grandchildren, including Navy, right?
Right.
So now everyone knows. It's no longer, it's a conspiracy, it's a hit job, it's all this other stuff. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So let's back up on how you and Hunter first met.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I talk in the book about being invited to an after party with a friend who was invited to an after party by someone, you know, she had met. And, you know, you hear this name, Hunter Biden, but I talk about that time, you know, I was out, I think. I talk about the, like, vodka tonic breath,
Yeah.
you know. I wasn't in the best state, and I
We've
go.
been there before, both of us. So,
Yeah, many a time.
yeah.
And I go not knowing who he is, and you know he's there at this little after party, and I find him in the back room, and people will never understand. I can sit here and tell you like what the paraphernalia that's in front of him and what he's doing and how it just, you know, intrigues me. And he's in these parrot boxer briefs that are brightly colored, and you're just thinking I'm crazy. I know. I see the look on your face.
In briefs.
At a party. He's just at a...
Well, you say party, but it's only like there's a few people there just kind of hanging out, having casual drinks. It's beautiful scenery.
Does it look like something like that?
No.
It's not that.
It's
the
actual
scarf
brief.
is too much. The scarf in that one is too much. The scarf.
I mean, I'm just showing it. But it's more briefs. He looks like
It's
he's
more
wearing
like
a thong
just the
here.
short. Like,
Yeah, I got
there's-
you.
Okay.
There's shorts.
So he's got some manners, at least first impression, you know, have a...
Well, he didn't. I kind of barged in on him. You know, he was in the back room by himself, and I kind of barged in on him. I heard something, or I heard him say something, a bad word, and then I walk in. Yeah.
And this is a house.
No, it was at Rosemont Seneca, so it was the penthouse of the House of Sweden. So it was the.
So what does this place look like, Rob?
That was beautiful.
Is it?
Nice.
Yeah, and it's like this glass like cubicle building, and like the glass and everything had been like imported from Sweden, and
where is this at?
this is in D.C. It's on the waterfront.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And D.C. I don't know if it's considered Georgetown area, but
Okay.
it's definitely on the waterfront. Beautiful place.
And how long ago was this?
When I met him?
Yeah.
Into 2016.
Okay, we're
good.
talking
I
8
guess.
years ago.
Yeah.
Got it.
God.
And my daughter's she'll be 6 in August.
Oh, so the relationship went on for a while. It wasn't like it was just a, week or 2 weeks.
Oh no, yeah, but I talk about Hunter and his addiction and how he comes and he goes.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of and it's a quality and a trait that a lot of addicts have.
Mm-hmm.
They show up randomly, and there'd be times he might be gone for 2 to 3 weeks and then pop back up. And I talk a funny story in the book, for example, is like he pops back up, and he knew that like one of my favorite quotes is "Not all who wander are lost." And he like comes in, he's like, "Look at my socks," and he pulls his pants up, and he has socks on that say, "Not all who wander are lost." And I said, "Could have fooled me. Where the hell you been? I thought you were lost for the last few weeks. I hadn't seen you."
And then boom.
But yeah, that's how
Is that the property?
it is.
Okay.
And the top floor up there is where his office was.
Okay, so now you go into the room, you're hearing say some curse words, and then what happens there? Is everybody that's at the party 5, 10, 15, 20 people? What's the size
It
of
was
the?
probably 5 to 10.
Okay, so a smaller group.
Yeah,
smaller,
and they're in
okay.
like the front. Like there's like when you walk in like the hallway, and then there's like a conference room that goes out onto the balcony up there. And at nighttime, it's lit up beautifully. It's like got this like gold.
there it is.
You see,
That
like
one.
the amber lighting. It's beautiful, and it overlooks the Potomac, and you can see like the Kennedy Center and the Watergate, all that.
Now, why are you there? Are you there because you're there to hang out? You're there to party?
So
You're
my
there
friend had met a guy that night, and he was going there, and so she wanted to go, but didn't want to go by herself. And so she just called me up, and I
going there to what? Going there to just chill, just hang out, have a good time.
No
motive.
Everybody had been
it's
out
not like,
having drinks
I got
and like
you.
just a place to chill. Not
What
like,
time is this? Is this like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, midnight?
Like midnight at
Okay.
1.
I mean, typically at midnight, if I'm going to a house, penthouse, we're not going there to read books. You know what I'm saying? We're probably going to.
Everybody was drinking, just having a good time.
Got it.
But it wasn't like
And
loud college party or nothing.
What was the first impression he gave you? What was he charming, likable, flirtatious? What was he like?
The first thing that like caught my eye was his eyes. He had the most beautiful eyes, but like, you know how they say, Shakespeare, is it, that says the eyes are the window to the soul?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can tell by looking at him, he's somebody who is there's so much back there, it's complex, I guess you would say, and you can tell that.
Is it pain? Is it childlike? Is it help me?
It was almost like pain, and I talk about throughout the book, like I have this great empathy. It's probably a bad trait, but I felt it immediately looking into his eyes, and it was a like, hey, how are you? And he's like instantly just starts talking like he's known me forever. And we sit down and we engage in conversation. He's really easy to talk to. And so that was it.
That was the first time. Nothing happened first night.
No.
Okay. And conversation is about what? At this point, do you know who he is? Do you have an idea how important he is?
We're sitting there talking. He introduces himself and he tells me his name. And, I talk throughout the book about how, you assume people that use that amount of drugs and you see the pictures on the laptop and stuff, but he was like almost like a banker, as like organized as he had it set up. Like it wasn't
like he had OCD with drugs.
Like everything was like compartmentalized and everything. Like it's not like just...
So he's an organized drug user. He's a very structured, systematic.
Like he doesn't want the meth touching the coke. Like don't go near.
No.
You know what I mean? Like they can't touch each other.
So but the conversation, did you know this is the former, because at the time, 2016, President Biden is a former vice president, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like he is in the limelight as much as he's been the last few years, because at least father's out of the limelight, et cetera, et cetera. Is he telling you, you know who my father is? Like, is that
it actually happened like midway through conversation. We had been talking. He asked my accent and then, mocks it and he's laughing at it and stuff. And I'm mocking his because I always say that he has like this high pitched like twang that I guess it's a Delaware accent. I don't know. But me and my friends used to joke with him all the time about his accent. But as we're sitting there talking, I'm in this chair. And it's like a wooden type chair, and it has the arms kind of like this, but wooden. And there's a label on the side of it, and it's like a gold label, and it said Senator Barack Obama, and it had like the years that he served in the Senate. And I was like, is this Senator Barack Obama's? Is this the president's chair? And like I stand up and I'm looking at it, and then it resonates. Who his. I was like, how do you have this chair? How did you get this? He's like, oh, it was a gift, and he's kind of laughing it off like no big deal. And then when it resonates and I say, oh my God, is that your dad? Like, do you know him? And he's like, yeah, that's my dad. And it was just as humble. And I Googled it, of course. I'm like, no way. Yeah. And, it was.
So your friend isn't like, hey, we're going to go to this place and you're going to meet Joe Biden's son. That's not what she said when you guys...
No, we knew that there was somebody there of some form of importance.
You don't know
who. We were also at the House of Sweden, so I didn't know if like it was some...
I got it.
And the friend, your female friend that came with the guy, was the guy in politics or in that world, or he was just a successful guy, or who was that?
I can't tell you much about that person. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything. I don't even know how he was invited because I didn't see anybody really interact with Hunter other than me and my friend.
So now, when you guys leave, what's the next time you guys connect?
Well, he gets my number from Kindle. Well, I think I changed names in the book.
It's all good.
Okay. So he gets my number, and we actually have car trouble that next morning, and she calls the number to the party, and it's him, and he sends someone down, like from this little, there was a small a mechanic shop not far, and they came and fixed, she had something with her battery, they fixed it, and then, take off, he comes down there, and that's how, he ended up getting my number from her as we were talking, but we talk on and off for, like a week or two. And then I see him again. He comes, I think he was out of town, and then he comes back, and we met up.
Go ahead.
He asked, if he could see me. And so we met at, the House of Sweden outside. I didn't go in. He met me outside, and we went to just like a little Georgetown bar.
How was that?
It was just like it was the first night. Like the waitress comes over, she talks, and he's talking, and he's engaging in conversation with her. He talks to her, something about her bracelet, and then I notice, he wears a silver bracelet that's like a band, kind of like this, except it's wider. And I used to always think it looked like the "What Would Jesus Do?" like fish emblem all the way around it. And so he tells her some story about it, but I got lost in the moment because I'm sitting here like she has no clue who he is. Like he doesn't come off as somebody of any importance, or like my dad's the vice president, or my dad, now the president. Like he didn't come off that way. And he's sitting there talking to this girl. She has no clue who he is, and he just seems so humble.
He seemed humble.
Yeah, you would think he would seem like entitled, kind of arrogant. And I guess that's what a lot of people claim that they see through the media and stuff. And he did not come off that way.
Maybe the wristband he had on that says WWJD, maybe it is "What Would Joe Do?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like his
it doesn't say.
Okay.
It looked like
maybe
the
it is a
fish
J.
emblem.
What would Joe do? But going back to it, so the humble side. So you've seen a side that we've not seen. So and just listening to you, even in the first 8 minutes, just listen to you, sounds like you like him. This is a guy you like.
I did.
Sounds like he's a likable guy,
Oh, yeah.
and you enjoyed your times with him.
Oh.
So you're actually attracted to him
Yes.
physically as well as personality-wise
I was.
at this point. Okay.
I was. He seemed larger than life. When you're young, dumb, and naive. And I would never say that he took advantage of that. But he seemed larger than life, So, of course, as you're intrigued by that. Or I was, anyways. So
Can I ask you a question, Pat?
Yeah.
Were you so is he? Because I'm pretty sure because at the first time you saw him, he was doing drugs and there was drugs around him, paraphernalia. Do you think that personality, that talking, that hey, look at that, is that him acting high? Number one, and then number two, is there any security with him while he's going out at this time? This is 2016. No. He's just riding solo.
yeah.
Okay. You think is he partying at all? Do you know if he's high when he's hanging out with you? Because, he was at the house.
Well, see, I talked throughout the book about how he'll go to the bathroom, every 10, 15 minutes, like in public, or if we're on the train or going somewhere, whether it's Union Station or wherever we're at, he'll go to the bathroom and then come back. And I don't think it was his bladder that took him to the bathroom.
That often. Yeah. I think even one time you said, I want to say you said this in the book, where it's, he, at one point he used to go and, drink a gallon of vodka a day, smoking crack cocaine frequently. There was days that he was doing it 15 to 20 minutes at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Gallon of vodka.
Yeah, and that's crazy, right? That consumption.
Right.
It just seems like, how are you still alive? And there were times we would talk about it, and he would tell me, I'll outlive you.
I'll outlive you.
Yeah, like
he's telling you.
Yeah, like he's like, nothing can bring me down. Like
so he feels he's untouchable.
Well, at that time, with everything that he was consuming, he didn't feel like it was but that was his deflection. He deflected a lot. Like if you try to tell someone that they have an issue or they have a problem, he would deflect.
Would you
avoid or deflect?
Would
that
you
was his
participate with him with the drugs, or no? Was it mainly him?
Well, no, I talk about, in the book how I'm no saint, and I was young, and, I partied a lot and drank a lot and tried a whole lot of things, but I never had an addictive personality. And so far, I think the only thing I've ever been addicted to is red flags.
Red flags.
Yeah. Red flag guys. Red flagged men.
Very, very interesting. So this time around, this is 2 weeks. He comes, he helps out, he sends somebody to come help out your friend's battery in the car, get the number, and then you guys go out to a bar. You're having a good conversation. He's talking to the waitress or the bartender, just having small talk. He's wearing this bracelet. What would Joe Biden do? And then we're going through this whole thing. And at what point does it get intimate where it's actually a relationship, physical relationship?
Just
that day at the bar.
yes.
Okay.
We go to, I believe it was the Ritz-Carlton, in the Georgetown area. And we go there and I stay with him. He's got like this little open bar, that comes with his room. And we're just there talking. And I talk about how that was, my first hit of Hunter.
Your first hit of Hunter. You say that in the book.
That's the chapter.
Okay.
Name
How was the first hit of Hunter?
Wait, are we talking about? What are we talking about?
We're talking
Are we talking about the date?
both. How was the first hit with Hunter? Was it something where, because at this point, is this guy a guy that's partied so hardcore? Because, there's certain people that go through phases of partying. Some people don't graduate it. Some people do for the rest of their lives, and they can't stop partying, right? But, just like anything else, you party a lot, you become better at it. Was he fun? Did you have a good time with him?
Oh, yeah. Very fun.
Okay.
Very, very fun. But there was, I don't feel like Hunter did it to party and to, didn't outgrow his party years or at Georgetown or whatever. He did it, I think, to try to numb this hurt that he had, and that he'd lost Bo. He's been through tragedies in his life. Mm-hmm. And I think that he just had so much. I've read, and I know this is probably something you shouldn't do is ever read somebody's journal. But I read one time in his journal, where he was talking about, it was in his office, and it was one of the days I had to clean. I was cleaning out his office at Rosemont Seneca. And, you have to pick what do I think he'll want to keep, what I think he'll not want to keep. And he had journaled and kept so much. And I flipped one open to see what it is. And of course, he's talking about like the mind and how it's an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And he goes on talking about that. And it made me think that, a lot of times he did those things because there was just that idle mind in the devil's workshop.
Did he ever talk about his father with you? Would that come up or not at all? Like, would he say, did you ever ask the question, what's your relationship with your dad? Was there any talks about him?
Well, I mean, yes and no. Like there were times, I don't know if y'all remember the memes that came out.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of memes when Joe and Obama were in office,
mm-hmm.
and they had all like their bromance memes and stuff, mm-hmm. which we thought were funny, and me and mine and Hunter's mutual friends would like bring them up, like we'd be on his laptop looking them up and laughing, mm-hmm. and he didn't think any of those were really funny. Sometimes he'd mock us and laugh, but he's like he doesn't like to feel like his family's being made a mockery of.
Was he protective of his father?
I would say so. I would say, I think that Hunter felt like a disappointment in a lot of ways to his family. And I think that bothered him really bad because he wanted to make his dad proud. And at one time he told me a story about like growing up, how, like he was the kid that would get in trouble and Bo was like the saint, and they like called him like general or chief or something like that, or sheriff, or it was they gave him some name like that he talked about. And he said that, parents knew that like if their kids were with Bo, they would be doing the right thing. And he's like, and if they were me, they'd probably get in trouble. Like he would make, little things like that I think bothered him, because I think that he did want to do good, but I think he just had so many demons.
Normally when you're in a situation like this, half the time you're not looking for money. You're not looking for fame. You're not looking for any of that stuff. You're looking to be left alone, and you want somebody to have a conversation with where you feel safe, right?
Right.
You want to be able to talk to somebody. Did he ever feel that level of comfort with you where he spoke to you and opened up?
Yes, but Hunter, like I talk about our first kiss in the book, and how, his lips, they were so hard, and it was like the shell, like he had walls put up, I'm sure from everything that he's gone through and, you know, who his family is, you probably have to do that. But, like, for example, Hallie had told me one time that...
Hallie?
This
is Bo's wife. Bo?
Yes.
Okay. Widow. Yeah.
She had told me one time that she's like, Hunter trusts you. Like, whatever it is, like, I don't know why, but like he'll talk to you and he'll trust you. Like, if you talk to him, if you can. And when she confided me and told me that, she told me that doesn't come easy. Like, that's something that like Hunter doesn't do.
I bet.
And so, you know, that was another reason when I got pregnant, I felt like I'd let him down because, you know, it was this burden. I became a problem to him. And I was somebody that I felt and other people felt like, you know, he could trust.
Very interesting. So from the first day you meet him upstairs in a penthouse to you getting pregnant, what's the timeline there?
Over a year.
Over a year. Got it. So in over the year, how many encounters or how many times did you spend time with him?
Oh, multiple.
10, 20, 50?
I don't even know I don't know if I could put a number on it. Lots. I mean, he would show up and he'd be there for, you know, 3, 4, 5 days. And then he might go ghost for 3 weeks.
Maybe hours.
And then he might be there for 3 weeks.
How many days would you say you spend with him? Days, if you were to say. In that 1 year. 50 days, 100 days?
Yeah, somewhere between there, probably.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot of days. So if he's traveling, he's coming back to you, and you guys are together. And at this time, so a year later you get pregnant. When you get pregnant at this point with the relationship, has he ever, you know, are you guys talking like you're his girlfriend? What's the conversation like? How does he view you? How do you view him? Who are you to him?
You know, that's difficult to explain. And that's something that, you know, I think reading the book is probably difficult to explain because Hunter and I had been seeing each other. And then a couple months later, you know, it comes out that he's dating his sister-in-law. Yeah. And I was shocked. And it kind of hurt. I didn't know, you know, but I also knew that I probably wasn't the only, it's not like we were, you know, this official relationship or anything like that. We were just, I talk about being like detached from my feelings and, you know, that I had commitment phobia anyways, always have. And so it's difficult to explain, but like get off the phone, you know, I love you. I love you too. You know, like it was that connection was there, but there was never no like boyfriend, girlfriend. I kind of always knew after it came out in the tabloids, you know, that him and Hallie were in a relationship, that it seemed more of like an open type relationship, and it seemed more toxic. Like they were more on and off too.
Now, does the media at this point know who you are, or they still don't know who you are? Like, is anybody following you? They're going. So, how did he, as the son of a former vice president, how does he get around without people, paparazzi coming around? Like, did you ever have a paparazzi moment with him or no?
No, there was one time that we were on our way to a bar in Georgetown. We were walking, and I remember a guy like got his phone up, and I wasn't used to that. And so I didn't know that he was possibly taking a picture of Hunter. And I could tell that it bothered him. But that was nothing that I'd ever been aware of, or because I'm telling you, like, he would blend so well. Like, the time we'd go out to bars and he would just talk to people and people wouldn't know who he is. All they'd say, you know, is he's Hunter. Sometimes he'd tell him he's Robert.
Yeah.
You know, like, so no, like, they're people, he just blended.
It's interesting. When the part where you say, you know, one day he told me, he said, hey, I think you and Hallie will get along. You'll like her a lot. You'll really like her. Was he kind of like insinuating that, hey, maybe the three of us can, you know, have some fun together? Was he suggesting that at all or no?
You know, I don't know. That never happened.
Okay.
But
what do you mean that he never said you would like Hallie, or the fact that the three of you got...
the three of us.
Okay, that never happened. Okay.
Something together, like a throuple.
Some call it threesome, throuple, whatever you want to call it. Thruple. Yeah, totally. It happens every once in a while. No. But so that never happened with the three of you. Okay.
No, I've met her. But no, and I talk about through the book, you know, like from the outside looking in, like I even tried to, you know, be a mediator in one of their arguments. And it seemed, it just seemed more toxic. It seemed like two people that had relied on each other during a really dark time and then just kind of had to ride that wave.
Did you think at all it was weird that he is dating his, dead brother's widow wife?
When you say that, that's weird, right?
For sure. I mean, for sure.
But young, dumb, naive, and I think that it was part of like the Hunter package. Like it just seemed normal. But yeah, like you say that. I know it sounds crazy.
So did you meet her? So wait, here's my question though. When you met her, did you know that was his, like, were they already hooking up when you met her? Was it like, hey, this is Bo, my dead brother's widow, and they were already hooking up? Or?
I met her after it had already come out in the media that they were seeing each other.
Wow. Okay.
And he made it seem to me like it was sort of an open relationship, and he also made me aware that like the media might have the wrong impression of what went down, and so he kind of downplayed it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I don't think the media could. I mean, it is what it is. You're sleeping with your dead brother's wife. I don't think there's any way to spin it any way than what it is.
It's a little weird. So okay, so let's continue. So you find out you're pregnant. What do? You call him. You tell him we have to meet up. You text him. How did you tell him the news?
Well, so first I don't tell him for a while because I'm so scared. I'm nervous. Well, I say a while, but I mean it's just like a couple weeks. But I'm so nervous, and because you hear all these conspiracy theories about how they feel about politics and how they'll make these scandals just disappear or something like that. And then I felt like I had become a scandal, and so I was so scared to tell him because I knew him as Hunt. So we all called him. It was. But I talk in the book. I wasn't scared of Hunt. I was scared of Hunter Biden and his reaction. As who his dad is, and taking all that into consideration because now I'm a scandal. So it was tough. I didn't tell him at first, and then I have complications, and I think it was just stress-induced complications.
Sure.
Early in the pregnancy, and I actually invite someone to my house to have a conversation, and he is someone that I had met through mutual friends, and he's actually a friend of Obama. And
well-known person or no?
Well-known in that area, maybe.
Okay.
Locally.
Okay.
But probably not nationally. And I tell him I need to talk to him about something. I need some advice. And he's like, okay, because I trusted him. And he said, okay, yeah, what? Just come to the office. I was like, no, I need can't be at the office. I don't want anything being recorded. I didn't want to take that chance because you become paranoid. And so he came over to my house and was like, what's wrong? And I said, it was on his lunch break because he realized then that it was an emergency. And he's like, okay, like send me your address. I'll be right there. And so he comes in, he's like, okay, what's wrong? And I said, and now mind you, he's an attorney. He actually went and studied at Harvard with Obama, knew the family, knew politics well. And so I said, I'm pregnant. And he just looked at me and he said, well, I assume I know who the father is. I said, yes. And he's like, well, at least it's not a Clinton.
Oh, wow, really?
That's really the first thing he said.
He said, well, at least it's not a Clinton. And he said the Bidens are known to, embrace their family, love their family. They're very family oriented. And he said it could be a good thing, and people at that time that knew Hunter, knew his addictions, like maybe it could bring him out of this dark place. But it didn't.
So meaning if it is a Clinton, your life may be on the line type of a deal.
Yeah, he said it jokingly, but I mean.
Well, there's only one Clinton you can get pregnant with. And Hillary nor Chelsea can't get it done, right? So, okay. So he's telling you this. Is he at all getting to a point where asking you whether you want to keep the baby, whether you want to abort the baby? That conversation is not at all being had.
No, I had not had that conversation yet. I talked to him, this guy, this attorney, and then I also talked to I call it our amoeba pack, and it was me and we had 2 other friends that we'd hang out with all the time with Hunter. I brought them around him a lot because I trusted them. And I talk about the friends that I would bring around him had to be people that I trusted because I didn't want them to go off and, tell everyone about what he's suffering from and this demon on his back. And so I tell my closest one, and of course she's just like, oh my God. Like, it's just, how did this, well, we all know how it happened, but at the same time, it's just like.
Science.
Right.
You got to trust the science. That's what she says. So,
but why?
Yeah.
And so it was a very confusing time. She tells me, she says, I'll go with you. And I avoid him. I talk throughout the book, like I avoid him, and he even contacts her and my other friends, like, what is going on? And so finally, I go see him. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell him. And I take my friend with me and as backup. She's like, okay. She's like, I'll make the move to go to the bathroom. And when I make that move, like,
she's hung out with him. So is this the same girl from date 1, or is it the same girl that you guys went? Okay.
Yes.
So she's safe. He feels safe around her. Okay,
yes.
got it.
And so we're all in there just talking and stuff, and he mentions, like, what's been going on? Like, what's this big thing? And she finds her cue, like, to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. She just, like, kind of looks at me. And I don't know if are you fans of, like, the Friends TV show at all?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so big
We're
fan
in
of
our
that.
40s, so, we follow. I mean, he watched every episode. So
Me too, multiple times. Okay. I always say that when I tell him, it was a lot like when Rachel tells Ross that she's pregnant.
Okay.
And it's like that just look that.
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, the what?
And he doesn't say anything, and I'm just like, and it's yours, by the way, like, if there's any question, but I'm just, like, going to let you process that. And he's like, honey, I know it's mine, like, and goes into this, I know it's mine. I want you to know, I respect whatever decision it is you make, and I'll be there spiritually, financially, mentally, whatever it is. He's like, have you thought about this? Have you, what do you want? And I told him, I was like, abortion would be something that would be off the table. Mm-hmm. And I said, the only reason I would ever consider it would be because of who you are. And that's not, I wouldn't be able to live with myself for that. Mm-hmm. And he was totally okay with it. What do I need to do? What can I do?
He's saying this to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, it seemed that night was great. And then, there were a few nights after, but it was, I start going and having these crazy amounts of ultrasounds done at Sneak a Peek because I'm like, it can't be real. Like,
you don't believe that this is really happening?
No, like the night that I took the tests, like the next day or that next week, whenever it opened, I'd go to have an ultrasound done. So I'm like, this can't be right. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no way God would put me in this situation. And I take my friend with me, my trusted friend, and she laughs to this day because, the woman does the ultrasound and she tells me, here's, shows me what's what and everything. And I'm like, are you sure? But are you sure? And she finally, like, she's offended. She's like, I've been doing this for 25 years.
It is.
You're pregnant.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But it didn't seem real. And it was really hard for me to accept, I felt like. And I did a lot of that before I even met with him.
So at this time, no weird friends being sent to have a conversation with you. You sure you want to do this? Life's going to be very difficult. Do you want the scrutiny? Do you want the pressure? Is anybody, not Hunter, is anybody else trying to influence you to make a different decision?
No.
Nobody?
No.
You thought about it. Where did you go? You just thought about it.
No. Like, I think about, me and my friend having that discussion. We have a discussion one night in the car.
Your friend?
Well, and his friend, the same one.
Okay.
From
the Barack Obama guy.
No, the mutual friend, the girl.
There's no...
the one from the first night.
The two of you.
Yeah,
it's
just the two of her.
Okay, got it.
The two of her.
Got it.
Two of us.
Yep.
And, we talk about it, and I kind of say the same thing that I said to him. Abortion would be off the table for me. And, like, the only way that even comes to mind is because of who you are. And that I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did that. I couldn't do that.
Now, when you've made this decision and he knows, from the first moment you meet him to getting pregnant, that's 1 year. From the moment you're getting pregnant, you find out to telling him is 2 weeks. You meet with the Barack Obama friend from Harvard. He tells you the Bidens are better than the Clintons, which is what a weird thing to say, but great. So he seems like a gentle guy that he's not trying to persuade you to do otherwise. Then you and your friend have a meeting. Then you and your friend go and tell him. Then he says, I'll support you spiritually, financially, morally, in every way. Then you go do the ultrasound. You piss off the nurse. She kicks you out.
Well, I actually did the ultrasound like before I met with him.
Okay.
I did it like as soon as I found
Right.
out because I'm like, this can't be. And I've got all these tests laid out on the table that say positive, and I'm like, no.
Did
Something's
anything
wrong.
with the relationship change gradually from you saying you're going to keep the baby? Was there still physical encounters, or did it kind of like he's no longer available, he no longer sees you as much, or nothing's
Well,
changed
no,
yet?
we were still seeing each other.
Okay, got it.
You know how the couple days, and then I might not see him for a few, and I'm texting him, and you know, one of the times I saw him, I think when the relationship changed is when you know, I told him he was staying in Annapolis at the time, and I had told him that I would do a sneak peek to hear the baby. It was like the first time to hear the baby's heartbeat, and he should be there. You know, you said you wanted to support me, right? And so I tell him, and then my friend also, you know, hey, don't forget, because she had seen him, she had to go pick something up or something, and she seems like, hey, don't forget, it's like tomorrow, or it was the next day, or might have been that morning, I can't remember. And I showed up, and I listened to my baby's heartbeat, and he never showed, never got a call, nothing. And then it was like just days later, you know, it was an apology, and I know I was wrong, and I'm just, you know, in a bad place, and I'm so sorry, you know, excuses.
And then did he continue seeing, or was a steady decline, or was it a sudden decline?
It was a steady decline at that moment, probably for just a little bit, and then it was nothing.
Done. So when is the last time you and him had a text exchange?
Oh, what would be the date? Probably March, I believe it would
This
be.
year.
Oh, I thought you were talking about during that time.
Well, yeah. I mean, when it was a sudden done, like, is he at all not responding back to you to nothing?
Oh, that was while I'm pregnant.
Yes.
Talking about that timeline, right?
Yes.
So find out I'm pregnant. It's like first week of January. It's the steady decline. It would be March or April. Last I heard from him.
Till today.
No, not till today. Just during that time.
So from March, April,
Yes, during the
last
pregnancy.
time you hear from him, to you having the baby and actually delivering the baby, do you hear from him at all during that time?
No, that's what I'm saying. From the March, April time that I spoke with him and talked with him to having the baby, no communication.
10 months,
So-
nothing.
Yeah, so it's like 6 months, right? Give or take 7, 8 months,
Right.
right? Okay. So then the baby is born. Does he at all come to want to see the baby, or not at all?
No, there's no conversation with him.
So from that March, April till today, you guys have never spoken, never text, no phone call?
No, not till
nothing.
today. But at that point, like,
Okay.
you know, the baby's born. He is not. He
Around
did
at
not.
all. So when is the first time after the baby is born that he calls, reaches out, or wants to see the baby?
He doesn't until the child support dispute last year. That was the first time I surprised him at his deposition. You know, you have depositions, and I had done mine that week, and his was like on that Thursday or Friday. Well, it just happened to be Father's Day that weekend. So I set my child down, and at this point, you know, she's 4 going on 5, and she knows who her dad is. She doesn't quite understand why he's not there, but she sees other children with a mom and a dad. And so, you know, I in the book, I put all these stories about the moment I had to tell her about her dad, how she reacted, you know, the hard questions that I had to answer to her. And back to the deposition, I go, but a couple nights before I tell her, I say, and I don't tell her that he's coming to Arkansas, because how do you tell her?
Yeah.
I've been making these excuses that, well, he just lives so far away and he's so busy. How do I tell her he's coming to Arkansas and I'm going to see him and you still never met him? And so, and you know, I'm also telling her, you know, but he loves you from a distance. I tell her that I instilled that in her. And I had told her, you know, how great he was. Hands, because I don't want, if she hates him someday, or if she has any ill feelings towards him someday, it will be because of him and not because of me. I won't do that to her.
You don't give me those vibes at all. Like I don't sense any vindictiveness or animosity towards him from the second you came to now, even off camera. You've been very straight up and sincere about how you feel about him. So now, at this point, when you guys are when you guys are talking about the what do you call it, the child support, this is when you agreed to go from $20,000 a month to $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
Right?
So it was that deposition. It all changed that deposition when I showed up, because I told Navy that, I said, it's Father's Day weekend. If you want to make your dad something, we'll send it to him. I didn't tell her I was gonna personally.
You didn't take Navy though. You didn't take Navy.
I couldn't take her to a deposition.
That would have been traumatic for her.
Yeah,
okay, so you
probably all of us at that point.
No question. But more importantly, the child is, it's going to be a bigger effect on her. Of course, on everybody, but on her it'd be different because it's younger. It's going to have an impression on her. So you see him. He doesn't know you're coming. Deposition. Mm-hmm. What's his reaction when he sees you?
Well, so I get there and I've got this box. I let Navy make him something. And she made him, she drew him a picture of him and her. And they were as potato heads. And I had to write as potato heads because they were both orange. And I thought, this looks real similar to Donald Trump. And I don't want him to get the wrong impression. So I want to let him know that these are potato heads and that's the color she chose.
She has good taste.
And so I have to write it, in the corner, me and my dad as potato heads in quotation marks.
So funny.
And I gathered pictures of her from the first 5 years of her life, almost 5 at the point. And I put it all in this big white box. And I walked in depositions. My attorney walks up to me before, and Hunter's in the back with his attorneys. And he says, Hunter had no clue you were coming. They're flustered. They don't know why you're here. And I was like, well, what he doesn't know, I guess he thought that I was there to listen to the deposition. But what he doesn't know was I was there just to give him that box. I told my daughter that she could make him something for Father's Day. And that was the first engagement that she could ever have with her father. And it meant the world to her to sit there and watch her. She made him a bracelet. Mm-hmm. And that itself, I was going to get that box to him one way or another. At the time? She was fixing to be 5. She was 4.
So she remembered. You were at it's an age where it's you can communicate at this point. You can make stuff. You can do. I mean, my kid's doing that at 2.5, let alone 5 years old. Okay. So what's his reaction when you give him the box?
Well, he comes in the room and I'm sitting there with my attorneys and they're telling me they don't understand why you're there. Well, there was a couple reasons I was there. The box. And then there was some things no, it was made public that, he had no recollection of me and things like that. And so there were some questions I wanted answered. And I wanted my attorney to ask some of those questions. And I wanted to be there and have him sit across the table from me and say it to my face. And so I wanted to first, give the box. So he comes in. He's like, hey, how are you doing? Good. Yeah. Fine. And he sits down and, my attorney says, off the record, there's something my client wants to give, Hunter. And I stand up and I remember, I haven't talked to this man. I've seen him in court one time. And I remember thinking that he didn't look like the man that I once knew. And I said, call me Trump. Where's Hunter? That does not look like Hunter, that man that I saw in court that day. And I of course, avoided him. But I remember standing up with the box and my hands were shaking and my voice was shaking. And I told him, I said, this might not mean anything to you, but it means the world to our daughter. And that's why I'm here today, to make sure that you get this. And I told him, I said, she's made you some things. I've also got pictures in there of her, of the first 5 years of her life. And I also have a bunch of videos. I have a folder completely in my phone that's for HB, to send anytime. If he wants videos, anything. He's missed out on so much. And she's absolutely spectacular. You have children, it's you can't get that time back. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to do that for her. And I handed him the box, and you can tell this look on his face. He's like confused, like, is this a trap? You know, like she's being nice. And he just gets it, and he says, thank you. And then he sets it on the shelf behind him, and I'm like, you're not even gonna open the damn box? So I got offended. I was mad. And then my attorney starts the deposition, asking, you know, some tough questions. And finally, like, Hunter, you know, he just looks at me and he's like, can we talk? And I said, yes, I would be open to that. And I was actually texting my attorney beside me, like, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm really uncomfortable at this point. Like, I'm ready to go. She's like, you can walk out whenever, but stay right now. Because she felt like, you know, I guess as an attorney, she sees that he might be getting flustered in his questions or whatever it was. So then he asked to talk. And so we go to a room, just the two of us. And there was crying, there was laughing, there was, you know,
He's crying. Both of you guys are crying.
Both.
Okay.
And as soon as I walk in, I talk about, like, he just embraced me in a hug. And yeah, I just immediately started crying. So I've hated you. and that's something that's so hard because, you know, you see everything that your child deserves and she's not getting that. And it causes you to hate that other person. And at that time, like, I said, Hunter, I've hated you. I've hated you for years. I said, this little girl, she prays for you every night. Do you know that? You know, this little girl asks about you every day. She'll come to me, Mommy, what's my daddy's voice sound like? And you know what I do? I find your eulogy that you give at your brother's funeral, where she can see,
Wow, that's tough.
she can see love in her father.
Wow.
And that's what I showed her. And what's the tough part is she watches it. And in the eulogy, you know, he says, I love you, I love you, I love you. And that was what he heard after the tragedy, after the car accident. Bo's words to him, I love you, I love you. And I'm watching my daughter watch this on an iPhone screen. And she says, I love you, and kisses the iPhone screen. And I'm going to have to sit there, you know, and try with this huge lump in my throat, trying to be strong for her and let her know, see, he's a man full of love. You know, and I want her to see the good in him. I do. I want her to know she comes from a good place and the possibilities that she has. And that was very tough for me because at the time, I hated him. I hated him for what he'd done to me, and I hated him for what he had done to our daughter. And that's the whole point of the book, because forgiveness is a burden that, you know, you hang on to. And if you don't forgive, whether they apologize or not, you that burden's on you. And I had to forgive. And that day, when we sat in that room, and another thing I brought up, I told him, I said, my daughter spent a lot of time making you a Father's Day gift, and you set it on the shelf behind you. And he says, I was not about to open that box in front of your attorneys and be vulnerable in front of them. But again, this is about our child. And so he has them go get the box, and they bring it through there. And we go through pictures, and, you know, we're laughing at, like, certain pictures of her and everything. Of course, he's seeing himself. She looks so much like him.
Eyes are the same.
Oh, same eyes. Absolutely. And mannerisms. My friend that comes in, the mutual friend between the two of us, she'll come in twice a year. And she says, every time I come, I get PTSD. It's like you and Hunter going back and forth 24/7. But there was forgiveness given that day. And I remember we stayed in there for a long time. We went through that box. We talked about Navy. And, you know, I can remember him telling me as he was crying, you don't know the remorse and the guilt that I've lived with every day that she's been born. And I told him, you know, I know that you were in a bad place during that time. I get that. But when do you make it right? At what point? You're sober now. You're standing in your truth. And you have a little girl in Arkansas that loves you, prays for you, talks about you. You know, like, she'll tell you her grandfather is the president. Has she ever met him? No. Is she proud of him? She used to walk around, and, you know, Arkansas has a lot of conservative people. My family has a lot of conservative people in it. And she's always like Dad says, she's born to be an attorney because she'll argue with a wall. She'll argue with anybody. But, you know, if there was anything about, like, the election that was going on, the campaign, she was, 2? And she's walking around saying, no, Trump, let's Joe, baby. Like, that's what she would say. Let's Joe, baby, instead of let's go, baby. Yeah. And, of course, my family's all like, ha.
Yeah. Get her out of here. Get her out of the living room.
But she has supported him and his family from a distance, and he's never known that. And all, you know, I think that him and his family has seen was this toxic litigation around her, but that was just me wanting him to take accountability for his child. That's it. I don't care. The night that my attorney, I talk about, you know, this story in the book, the night that my attorney called to tell me the child support and, like, the amount, I was floored. I was fine with the temporary child support, which is less than what he's paying now. And he had to be at depositions, you know, that next morning during the paternity suit, you know, to settle and he didn't want to come answer my attorney's questions. So the night before, his attorney's calling, like, how can we settle this right now? Mm-hmm. Of course, my attorney, like, puts it off. Well, I'm actually having dinner with my kids, so I don't know if I get done in time. I'll call you back. But if not, I'll see you all at 8 o'clock in the morning, you know? And it was, I mean, I settled that night. And I would have never guessed that amount. I would have never came out and flat out asked for any amount. I can't tell you. I can remember my attorney asking, like, what amount are you okay with? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what's normal?
Any motive on the amount of money to ask for? That's not even something you're thinking about.
It was not. And I know people think that, and they think that was the main reason. The entire reason was for accountability. But I talk about, you know, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, but hell hath no greater fury than a woman or a mother whose baby is being scorned. And that itself, was there anger in me at that time? A lot. So I didn't care.
From that moment on till today, have you guys had communication? Has he seen Navy again or no?
From that moment on, we decided that, you know, he would engage with her in art. They could start off doing like a Zoom call once a month. She gets to pick out what painting, and he'll send it to her and whatnot. And he believes the two most important things to him is art that got him out of that tough time. He, you know, and family. He said art and family is what got him through that tough time, and that's what got him to recover, got him over that addiction. And so he said, what better way to get to know my daughter than through art? You know, it's helped me in other ways. And I'm all for it. That's great. That's wonderful. And so when we settled that day, I go home, and it's Father's Day weekend. And Father's Day weekend, my daughter doesn't bring it up, but she hadn't, but she's always known Father's Day weekend, we celebrate Pappy, and that's my dad. And, of course, been a great figure in her life, a male figure. She does have that, and we're both blessed with that. And I get to tell her that Father's Day, I said, hey, you know, today's Father's Day, and we celebrate Pappy, you know, but I sent your gift to your daddy, and guess what? You know, you might not get to talk to him right away, but this Father's Day, you got your dad. I was like, and you're going to start getting to talk to him. Would you like that? And she's like, can I call him right now? And I'm like, well, whoa, moving a little quick. No, I said, we'll call when the time is ready. Mm-hmm. You know, we're going to work out some details. Let us work that out. I said, but this Father's Day, you got your daddy. And that was just, I mean, the look on her face. Just like the look on her face the first time she saw him on Zoom call. It's worth every penny, any amount of child support.
But you guys don't see each other, but he does a Zoom with her once a month.
Yes, it started off once a month, and then it became like every week, and then sometimes a couple times a week. And, you know, that's something that, like, I applauded him on. He would be, of course, we all know, he had so much going on in Hunter Biden's world. Mm-hmm. Always. Mm-hmm. But this time, you know, there's a lot of things that he's having to take accountability for now. And he'll come out of, like, a meeting, you know, with his attorneys or something, and just to FaceTime her for a little bit and let her know that he loves her. And they've created that bond through Zoom.
When you were writing this book, did you tell him, hey, Hunter, I'm writing a book? Did he know or no? He was surprised?
That was the tough part. When we did our, child support dispute last year, there was a question that was brought to me. Are you writing a book? Do you have any?
Makes sense. Lawyers would ask. Is he asking or the lawyers are asking it?
The attorneys were asking sort of questions that, come back and forth. And I said I'd not canceled that out because I feel like I have a right to tell my story as Navy's mother. And I made that clear. But no, at the time, there was nothing in place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, once I started getting a lot of messages. And throughout all of it, there were the hate messages and the people that hated me and disagree with me, and that's completely fine. But then I started getting messages like women who have gone through similar situations, but it hasn't been in the public eye because it's not a political family or anything. And they talk about how, my story inspired them and how now, they fought for their child and now their child has a paternal side and a maternal and they're good influences in their life. And so it inspired me to tell my story because I think that there's a lot of women that find themselves in a situation when they get pregnant that they become a burden more of, celebrating it, oh, we're married, we've wanted kids. Mm-hmm. And then you also have those women that get pregnant and it's like, oh shit. And, it's a good story for those women to know, there's light at the other end of the tunnel. But writing the book, you sign that clause with your publishing agency and all that stuff that you can't tell people about it until a certain date. And so I wasn't able to tell Hunter until right before it was released.
When? Like a couple months ago?
Right before, yeah. Has it been that long?
I don't know.
Whenever it was released to the media that
I was a few weeks ago. Then.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
So then did he ask you, hey, can you send it to me for me to read it or not at all?
No.
They don't have the transcript? They haven't?
No.
Okay, got it.
No, and...
Are you at all worried about it when he reads it or no?
No.
Not at all?
No,
You're resolved.
My thing is, I want him to know what I went through. And, I mean, of course, I want everybody to know what I went through, right? You're wanting to share your story. You want to help somebody, maybe impact someone's life. But I want him to know what I went through. And I want him to know the hard conversations that I've had with our daughter and how long it's taken me to forgive and how long it has taken. Because everyone says, you give him so much grace. Well, it's been a long time coming because, yeah, I've stepped back and I've not said anything. And I've been a mother to our child and a father to our child. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've had to play both those roles. And there's been some hard times and some dark times that I talk about through the book. And I was alone. And I understand that sometimes during my dark time, he was in a dark time too, somewhere else. But he didn't show up for me. And he didn't show up for our child for so long that, no, this is a story. I actually write a letter to Hunter. You read the book. Did you read the book?
No.
Oh. There's actually a letter to Hunter.
Did the book, Rob? I don't remember anybody sending me a book.
No, they wanted us to sign an NDA before we got it, so we held off.
Okay.
I end the book, coming out of the shadows, and I write a letter to Hunter in there with forgiveness, a forgiveness letter. Like I said, whether there's an apology or there isn't, and we're just going to move past it like it never happened, that's not my burden to bear anymore. There has to be that forgiveness.
So, okay. By the way, I'm willing to bet thousands of men are watching this who have maybe experienced something like this in a much lesser, Hollywood script type of way that Hunter Biden takes it to a level that he's the GOAT on what he's done in this area. And they're sitting there saying, man, I'd love for my baby mama to watch this, to learn a few things from you, because my baby mama didn't have this level of grace. Meaning, your level of grace you've given to Hunter, let me tell you, it is, I know I'm going to get text messages and calls and manects of people saying, wow, they were not expecting that level of grace from you. But let me ask you this. So, okay, the love of a grandfather is different than the love of a child. Like the way you love your kids will be different than the way you love your friend, will be different than the way you love your a wife or husband,
right?
Than sibling. That's a different kind of love, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The love of a grandchild, I don't know what it is, but I see and I witness through my dad or my mom or, through other grandparents, where it's kind of like that's your world.
Well,
have you at all gotten a call from the president to want to FaceTime with her, with Navy, to speak to her? And Jill, anybody? Have you gotten any calls?
No, I have not. I have not gotten anything. But I'll say this: the love of a grandparent is completely different. I tell people all the time, my mother never picked me up from the dinner table and hugged me and kissed me and told me how proud she was because I finished my plate of noodles. She's never done that. She does it to Navy. And I'm just like,
hey, how about me?
Yeah, where was that?
Where were you?
Yeah. So, yeah, that love, I think, is completely different. And, so many people tell me when they see pictures of Navy or when they're around her, they're like, oh, my gosh, like she looks so much like her father. And it's like, yeah, she does. And I embrace that. I get that. But the love you have for your child, and then can you imagine your child having a child out there that looks so much like those years, that you were looking at recently.
And you don't want to call to meet or see or invite or just say, hey, would you mind coming to the White House? We just want to see. You've never gotten a call from the president to invite anything. Well, who knows? The one thing about life is, sometimes it takes time. Because you may get a call, this goes out there, somebody sees it, they're like, hey, we'd like to see you. They invite you to the White House or they come and see Navy. That would be interesting. To the average person who doesn't know Hunter the way you know Hunter, like to the average person that, politically, whether they're like, you understand, the president is this, and Hunter is a drug addict, and he's done this, and he's ruined so many people's lives, and there's strong opinions and emotions to him. What is your impression, not of Hunter, what is your impression of Hunter's father, okay, where sometimes you're dating somebody, and you meet a girl, you're like, oh my God, this girl's got a lot of problems. And then you meet the parents, you're like, oh, no wonder you have a lot of problems. I don't blame you. These are who raised you, right? You meet a guy, you're dating a guy, you're like, wow, this guy's very stable. How is he? The other day I watched a 12-year-old kid give a speech. You thought this guy was a president at 12 years old. And then you meet the parents, you're like, okay, I'm not surprised that this behavior is happening. Did you ever ask yourself saying, how did this guy become this kind of an addict? What did his father do? What did the family do to influence this behavior? And maybe from your end, what is your impression of Hunter's father?
Well, I'll say this. To begin, I always felt like Hunter was who he was because of the things that he had gone through. And I didn't ever think it was so much on his father's end. I thought it was more the tragedies that he had gone through with, his mother and losing Bo. I feel like those really impacted his life. And his father was sworn into the Senate by their hospital bed. That I don't really know how I would feel about that. I don't know if, he felt like, I don't feel like Hunter ever felt like he got the love he deserved from anyone. And I feel like he was constantly looking for that in everyone. And I talk about that throughout the book. I feel like he yearned for some form of love, just like my daughter yearns for that love from her father. And so I always put it off on Hunter was the person that he was because of the tragedies that he had gone through. And that's more so of what I thought. And you asked what I thought of Joe as well. There's a story in the book. And I'm in Wilmington with Hunter, and we're at Bo's house together, and it's just us. And one of my friends had one of my friends there, but I talk about there was a knock at the door, and Hunter, first he doesn't hear it. And I'm like, Hunter, someone just knocked on the door. He's like, what? Someone's at the door? And he's in the middle of his addiction. And he goes out there, and I talk about how, I go and I'm like peeking through this window trying to see like who's out there, what's going on. And I can see, Hunter's back is to me, and it's Joe. And he's looking at Hunter. And I'll never forget the look on his face. And it was such a look of helplessness and hurt.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, because he's seeing his son in the state. And, he had to know, even though he's not like using right there in front of him, he knew what state he was in. And, I think Hunter has said several times how, his family tried to step in and help so many times. And they had a quick conversation out there, and shortly after, Hunter came in. You could tell he was affected by it. He didn't want to let his dad down. But the look of hurt on Joe's face as he watched, and I don't know what Hunter was saying to him, and I'm sure making up excuses or something. They had some sort of, they had something to do that day, some family thing that he had to be at, and I was supposed to take one of his vehicles back to the Annapolis house. And it was a short conversation, but I sit there just in awe of the look on his face. 'Cause I wasn't a parent at the time. Also, I was pregnant at the time but didn't know it. And, now looking back on that, I can't imagine. I seen that painful look on his face where, he's hurting for his child and there's nothing he can do. Because Hunter made that very clear during his addiction. This is my addiction. There's nothing you can do to make me stop it. I'll quit when I want to quit. And I saw that look of hurt. Now it really resonates because I talk in the book, Navy gets a lot of Hunter's traits and great ones. He does have good traits, I promise. But one trait that I hope she never gets is that addiction that he battled. I never want to have to look at her the way that Joe looked at his son that day with that hurt and just feeling hopeless, helpless. You can't save him. This is a battle that he might not win.
What did you mean when you said sworn into Senate by bedside? What did you mean by that?
Well, I know that if, that tragedy had happened,
With his first wife dying, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Right.
And then, Hunter and Bo were in the hospital, and he was sworn into Senate by their bedside. I know that if that tragedy would have happened, I don't know if I'd have been able to be sworn in that day.
Well, let me get this straight. So did Hunter tell you about this? Did he ever share this?
No, I've seen it. It's been like on the internet or something.
So he never brought it up to you. This is something that you've seen independently yourself.
Yes.
So what you're saying is your wife, your bedside, your kids are there, and you're being sworn in instead of saying, give me some time to mourn before I do this. Is this the one you're talking about?
Wow.
Yeah.
And who is in this picture right now, Rob?
That's either Hunter or Bo right there on the bed, I believe. And I think, Hunter, I was actually told this as I wrote the book. Hunter didn't really talk about that time. And now he talked about his mother. There was a time, we were on the train, and I tell a story about how we're on his laptop, and he shows me pictures of his mother. And one of them, it was such a candid picture of her, and she's like in this bathing suit, and she's beautiful. And he was just, mesmerized by it. And, you could tell that love for his mother. And I had heard, as I was writing the book, that picture always kind of bothered me. Because it's like you said, I would have probably taken that time off.
So, Rob, can you go back and to read the details below? You had something. I'm curious to know what it says to us, because I'm now curious. I've never seen these before. Soon after Delaware Senator Joseph Biden was elected November 20, 1972, an automobile accident claimed the lives of his wife, an infant daughter, and put his two young sons in a hospital. To allow him to remain at children's bedside, Secretary of Senate Francis Vallejo traveled to Wilmington to issue the oath of office to the new senator, a ceremony Vallejo recalled in his oral history interview. Your wife just died. Your kids are in the hospital.
Wife and your daughter and your infant daughter's dead.
His little girl just died. She was, I believe, 9 months old.
How many days prior to that event is this swearing take?
It had to be days, right?
I'm not
days
certain.
after the
I'm not certain, but they're still there.
Now,
I know.
I have to know now, Rob. I have to know this now. This is so. Let me. Yeah.
She died December 7th. What's
18th?
1972.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't make any sense because this says was elected. Oh, elected November 1972. Let me see when he was actually sworn in.
When was he sworn in?
Yeah. She died.
What exact date was Joseph Biden sworn into Senate? That's all you got to look. What day?
Look, you see the pictures of them.
There's
I mean,
two other photos. I saw the ones in the
they're
middle.
Hunter was what? That happened in 72. Hunter would have been like 2, and Bo would have been 3. That's tough.
Well, January 5th, 1973, December 18th, it's 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So 12 days, 13 days, December 31st. So 18 days later, they're still at the hospital. You're being sworn in. You won November. And can you go back to the other picture, Rob? Can you go back to the other picture? Yeah, can you go to that one? What? That's Hunter and Bo.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Is that his leg broken?
I think.
Yeah, that's a leg in a sling.
Yes, and I think I was told, actually, as I was writing the book, I don't know this for certain, but I was told that Hunter suffered a traumatic brain injury.
Hunter did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
They said that was some sort of public knowledge. I did not know that until, I was writing this book, and one of the women that was kind of helping me organize things and whatnot, she said it's actually been found that Hunter suffered a traumatic brain injury at that time.
Wow.
And, that apparently has some sort of way of leading people to addiction as well.
He never talked about any of this stuff. Never. Got it.
No, he never talked about the accident.
I mean, honestly, when you're at that level, I don't know if Hunter trusts anybody.
Right.
Did you ever see any of his friends where he's like, this is my guy that I trust no matter what? Like, was it Haley? And maybe I'm saying the name incorrectly. Was it another friend? Was it a relative? Did he have anybody that he 100% trusted?
No, the only one friend that I'd met a couple times was Devin Archer.
Mm-hmm.
And, I talk about that throughout the book and going out with them one time. And he seemed, I don't know what, Devin was going through something at the time, just kind of seemed down. Hunter was trying to cheer him up.
So Devin Archer was the only one that you feel Hunter trusted the most?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd say trusted the most. I don't know. I know they were friends. That's how, it was presented to me from Hunter. And then when I met him, he seemed to,
And just for context, Devin is the one from Burisma Holdings. From April 2014 to October 2019, Archer and his business partner, Hunter Biden, served, if you go to the Wikipedia, served on the board of Burisma Holdings, one of the largest private natural gas producers in Ukraine. And this is the part when Hunter Biden was asked, Rob, you can pull this up, when he was asked, if your father wasn't a vice president, do you believe you would have been sitting on the board? And he says, probably not. So this is also at a time where he's going through all this controversy when you guys are together. Did you ever have interactions with Devin or no?
Yes.
Was he, it seemed like a stand-up guy?
Devin, a couple times. Yeah. I think, I don't remember the exact timeline as to when I met him, but, he was going through something and Hunter was trying to cheer him up, and he seemed to himself. He seemed...
Devin or Hunter?
Devin.
Okay.
And, he seemed down about whatever was going on.
Do you remember the month?
I don't.
Was it 19 or 20?
The year?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it would have been It would have been 2017.
Oh, 17. So, I mean, this is the thick of things. This is when they're kind of going. Is this it, Rob?
The clip of Hunter being asked if his father wasn't president.
Can you play this clip?
Yeah.
Okay, if you go for it.
If not more.
In the list that you gave me of the reasons why you're on that board, you did not list the fact that you were the son of the vice president.
Yeah. No.
What role do you think that played?
I think that it is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the Vice President of the United States.
You were paid $50,000 a month for your position?
Look, I'm a private citizen. One thing that I don't have to do is sit here and open my kimono as it relates to how much money I make or did or didn't. But it's all been reported.
If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life.
At least he is,
if my last name wasn't Biden.
Part of it where he's like,
It's like whatever, but he doesn't want to talk about it.
This is a very. You seem very reasonable. You seem very resolved in the way you've made your decisions. You seem like you're at peace right now yourself, but you seem to have. You seem to understand Hunter's pain, and if I was somebody that's watching this, I would say you're putting a little bit more of the responsibility on the father. I may be wrong, but that's the feeling I'm getting. Am I off?
Putting more responsibility
of his pain on his father.
No, I think it comes from everything. That's not, like the tragedies and everything that he's gone through, losing Bo. And then, the picture that I brought up, you asked about how I felt about that, not that situation, but how Joe handled or whatever. And I didn't understand. But I know that Hunter always, he talked very highly of, there's a story in the book and about, I think the chapter is like, he meant well. And even though he battled addiction, he went out of his way to try to do good things for people. And like one night we're on the train to New York City and there's an elderly lady sitting in front of us. Like, first of all, probably way too old to be traveling alone, especially at nighttime. It was like one of the last trains out that night. And she sees us and he's looking up like rental houses and stuff on his laptop, and we're looking at them. He loved the colonial style houses. And so we were looking at them and sharing pictures and just talking and giving advice. And she turned around, asked what time it was, and kind of a couple times when we would go back and forth, she would turn around and laugh at us. And she asked what time it was. And so Hunter engages in conversation with her. And he's like, what are you doing on a train this late? And you don't have a phone? You don't? She said, no. She said, my nephew, with whom I've raised, is dying of the same form of cancer that Bo had.
Oh, wow. And
she said, she didn't say that. She called it by name, but it's a, I don't know the exact name of it. And she said, and I'm going to see him. And the family, she said, I don't have a phone. The family, she had somebody that was going to pick her up at this train stop at the stoplight, outside the train stoplight in like Newark, New Jersey. And Hunter instantly, I knew as soon as she said that, he instantly gets up, he walks past me, he goes and he sits with this lady, he hugs her, he talks to her, he has that empathy for her. And he talks about, the things that his brother struggled with during that, going through, that process. And he felt her pain.
Yeah.
And he meant well, because he says, you know what, I'm going to get your stuff and I'll take you to that stop myself. I'll make sure you get to your family and blah, blah, blah. And I just sit there and he gets to the stop. Hunter gets her. He gathers her things. He says, I'll be right back. I said, okay. And he takes her to the stop. And then the train takes off. And I'm thinking, oh, God, he didn't make it back. Well, he's running from like the front of the train. He makes it. He sits down. He's out of breath. And they come over the loudspeaker and they say, next stop, Newark, New Jersey. And he's like, and he looks at me and I lost it. I started laughing. I said, oh, you just put that old lady out on the wrong stoplight. And he's like,
funny.
Oh my
messed
God, he
up.
freaks out.
So messed up. Nobody's ever heard from her again.
No, he freaks
She's
out.
gone.
He runs to the front. He's like, we've got to stop this train. We got to turn around. Like, I have put an old lady at a stoplight. I've got to
my
go back
God.
and get her. And they're like, we can't stop the train. Like, we're sorry. He gets off on the next stop, goes back and gets this woman. And instead of us, like, we were going to go out to have a late dinner, maybe go out and do some things and come back. Instead, all of that is postponed. And I have to go to this loft that we're staying at by myself. He goes, takes care of this woman, puts her on the right stop. And mind, it's December. It was like snowing in New York. And then finally at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a knock on the door. And it's Hunter, and he's in his T-shirt. He also had given his jacket on the way back.
To her.
He had given his jacket to a homeless man because he was cold. His cell phone was in it. Bo's dog tags were in it. And his wallet was in it. And he's just like, can't get it together. Well, I'm laughing because I think it's funny. And he's like, you need to call my phone. I said, well, honey, I've been trying to call your phone for the last 3 hours. And that homeless man hasn't answered me yet, so he's not going to answer. But he did answer. And eventually, like throughout the night. And then the next day, we get Bo's dog tags back and the phone, whatnot. Hunter even tells him, he says, if you bring it to me, you can keep the phone, you can keep the wallet. I want my brother's dog tags. And he does. He gets them back.
That family forgets stuff all the time. Like, 'cause they forget stuff at the repair shops. But Pat, if you don't mind, so you said earlier about reading a little bit of the journal. You kind of opened accidentally and you read it. And I don't know, I don't want to find out what he wrote in it. That's all on you. But it seems to me from a father's point of view, we're talking about the father, and I get the trauma that Hunter went through, and I can only imagine. I lost my dad, but I was 18, 19 years old. But losing a parent that young, losing a sister, going through all that, and obviously something with the father. He's getting sworn in at the thing. Ashley Biden, who was born obviously later on. I don't know if you paid attention. Her diary was recently come out to be factual. She left. I was trying to be funny, but it's true. They forget stuff everywhere. She left a diary at a friend's house, kind of like a renting out Airbnb, whatever. It was found, and it's been public now. And Ashley writes in there a bunch of crazy stuff from her childhood, over-sexualized, having this, having that. And she wrote this is in her diary, her words, that she showered with her father probably at inappropriate ages. So I kind of see. I see a trend that's happening, and it kind of is going back to the trauma, and also with the father. I don't know if did you see any of that? Because it's a fact.
I've heard some stuff about that, but no, I don't, because I don't ever know like what's factual, what isn't, what's just being thrown out there, what's being said. So I've heard something about that, but no, not the details.
So
exactly.
so you reading when his journal, what you were reading, was it current problems that he was going through, or was this like past history? Old school, like I don't know where you opened up.
I'll tell you, it was 97.
Oh wow! Oh crap! So this is old school.
Yeah, he was. He just wrote in there like some story, his thoughts on things, and his at the time I can't remember exactly where it says that he was working at like as a lobbyist or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy in life, and so there was a lot of sad stories. He just wasn't happy with himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this. I had no idea. I mean, I thought this was going to be a 45-minute to an hour interview.
How long have we been in here?
This is just going to be an hour and a half interview. But I've actually really enjoyed listening to your story, your experience, and to the average listener. Would you say your family, you said earlier, they're more conservative, right? Your family.
Some. I have.
Both?
Yeah, they go both. We don't discuss politics.
In your family?
Yeah, because it's just,
Yeah, we made it. We made it at this company. If there's one thing we never discuss, it's politics.
Ever.
We don't like
the fact that she said Trump, we all were like,
we don't like to go there because it makes all of us very uncomfortable. But we made an exception today just for you, so it's a very special moment. Rob, can we make sure to put this book all over the place?
Thank you.
And I'm going to make the intro, and I'm going to make sure we support the book as well to be read, because it's a direct experience from someone that is sharing with the world things that we haven't directly had. All we do is we read and we see stuff. And also at the same time, I'd love to I would applaud the president for him to reach out to want to meet his beautiful. I mean, she is beautiful.
Thank you.
Granddaughter, which, by the way, looks like the best of you and him, but you see her
eyes.
father in her. You know, if you're the grandfather and that's what your granddaughter looks like, all you have to do is, we're sending a plane, come to the White House. We'd love to spend a couple hours with them, or Delaware, and then boom, send you back home. It's not going to be a big expense. And I think it would be very honorable to all grandfathers to see that even though this is a little bit embarrassing to the family, this events like this one get somebody to say, you know what, we got to move past this. You got to give him credit. He reached out, he did that, and now, you know, Navy can forever say, because the president may not have a long time to live, she'll always be able to say, I met my grandfather. And I think that's going to mean a lot to her for many, many years to come. I applaud you. I appreciate you for coming out.
Well, thank you.
This was fantastic. Thank you so much, gang. Please go support her and order the book. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.